All right, everybody, we're back. And here we have an example that has, I believe the correct ordering would be left to right. Group on 4 versus a group on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 is lower than 6. Groups on 4, 5, and 2 groups on 8. And 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 carbon chain is tridecane. Move these titles. Oh, right then. Not as easy as I thought. Okay, well, maybe we won't move these titles. Tridecane's the end of the name. All the groups, they have different methods of naming them. The systematic grouping naming will cover any group you ever see. Common group naming will cover groups that have patterns like a V on the end. We're going to learn shortly that's called a iso group. One that looks like it's got a methyl branched immediately. We're going to learn that's called a sec group. A double methyl branched immediately is called a tert group. And this one doesn't have a common group naming. We're going to learn the systematic system for that. So let's do all these groups with the, call it A, B, C, and D, and use both systems, and then we'll try to figure out how these systems work. A, B, C. Let's finish A through C, and then I'll have room to write D. Okay. Systematic group naming for the group on carbon 4 called A. I just want to move my B. It's like way off the group that it's for. There we go. It's a 4-carbon group. It's going to have in its common name, so I'm going to start with the common name. It's a 4-carbon group. It's going to go with butyl. In B, it's a 6-carbon group, I'm pretty sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do I know those are the atoms in the group? Well, 5's part of the chain. It can't be part of the group and the chain. Remember that. That's an important rule. No carbon gets counted twice. So the group starts way over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. B is a hexyl. And C has 5 in it, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a pentyl. So that doesn't really cover it because butyl's 4 in a row. This is not 4 in a row. It's 3 in a row with a branch off the second last one. That is covered by this prefix iso. And the hexyl group that's B, this is a secondary carbon. If you're looking just at the group, it's got 2 carbons attached. Or I like to think of it this way. The first carbon attached, it has a single methyl. The prefix that goes in front there is a sec with a dash. You want to get real picky, it's an italicized sec. I'm not good writing italicized myself, so I don't expect you to be either. And the group on 8 has a double methyl branched immediately. Off the first carbon of the group, there's a double methyl. That's called a tert. In the group, it's a tertiary carbon, so that's where it got its name. I know in the molecule it's quaternary, but when we're describing the group, we're not describing the carbons in the chain. So isos, secs, and terts have patterns we have to recognize. We will do more examples with those. And the systematic name has the longest chain. For A, the longest continuous chain is prop, and it's a group, so it's propyl, and it's got a methyl on it. We need a number for where the methyl is attached to the propyl. And I know, you know, rules of nomenclature, you want the methyl on the lowest number, right? Well, you don't have that luxury here. Systematic group naming, C number 1 is, I can't tell that says C number 1. C number 1 is attached to the chain. This is not start where you want to. This is start where the system says you start. So in the group, carbon 1 is there. In this group, carbon 1 is there. In this group, carbon 1 is there. In this group, carbon 1 is there. That puts the methyl on carbon 2 in group A. In group B, that's on 1. And the longest chain is pentyl. Notice the group name still says 6 carbons. Methyl, pentyl, that's 6, 1 plus 5. This says 6 as well. On carbon 8, we have 2 methyls on carbon 1. You don't write 1-dimethyl. Don't do that. You'll be losing points. Here, I'll see. This is one of the most common mistakes I see students make. I'm leaving room for a reason. You told me where one of the methyls was. You didn't tell me where the second one was. And no, you're not allowed to assume because you only gave me one number that it's also on 1. No. If you're getting di in a name, you have 2 numbers. No exceptions. And the longest chain in that group, 1, 2, 3. I know you're saying, wait, the longest chain is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember this. C number 1 is attached to the chain. You start 1 there. Count as long as you can. 1, 2, 3. Go that way. Don't go this way. 1, 2. That's not as long. So you have a new stipulation that restricts how long your chain can be. 1, 2, 3. So it's a propyl. Notice the group name still says 5 carbons like the common naming system here. It has 2 methyls on a propyl, that's 5. And D, we will not be doing a common name for D. It doesn't exist. Carbon 1 has iodine, has 2 of them. Carbon 3 has iodine, that's a third. 1, 1, 3. Try. And the name of our new group, iodine, when it's a group, is iodo. Longest chain is 4. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a butyl group. And there's no common name for that group. All right. So as long as you remember when you're naming the group, carbon 1 has to be the first carbon attached to the chain. Then that's a new rule that will help you with a systematic group naming. And we have, let's see, down here I want to write down where the groups are. Once again, shift my whole page. And A was on carbon 4. B was on 5. And both C and D were on 8. That way I don't need to see the picture of my molecule anymore. I just need to remember it's 13 carbons, tridecane. Let's name it using the systematic group name and then rename it with the common group names, but we're going to have to switch to the systematic for the last one. I don't know if I can get the systematic name on one line. I'm going to assume I can't. I left enough room for 2 lines. Now we have a little bit of a problem. Alphabetizing is easy over here. B before H. Oh, no, it's not that simple. Oh, I hate when that happens in science. The iso counts. The sec and tert do not. Don't ask me why. The good people at the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry decided why, and they didn't share with me their reasons. Later, I'm going to give you a list of things that don't get alphabetized, and that's easier to remember because it's a small list of 4 things. And secs and terts will be included. Isos will not. Over here, these all go by M. Except for this one. Goes by I. So that group will go first in the name down for the systematic naming. Notice you never count the tris or the dis. That's going to be on my list of 4 things too. Prefixes indicating multiple groups do not get alphabetized. Secs and terts do not get alphabetized. Everything else does. So we got methylpropyl here and methylpropyl here. That's a tough one. But methylpentyl is definitely before both of those. So we do have to decide and pretend you know nothing about chemistry. Pretend it's a phone book. And you had to choose which one you're going to put in the phone book first. This guy named methylpropyl or this guy named methylpropyl, but he happens to have 2 methyls. So he is a different guy. He needs to be put in the phone book by himself. The logic they used at UPAC, and this one actually works for me. We can't use the die to make our initial alphabetizing, but if we have a dead tie between the 2 names at the end, methylpropyl and methylpropyl are exactly the same, we have to use something to put one after the other, and this one has nothing extra in front. This one has a little extra in front. I'll go nothing in front before something in front. So in terms of listing them alphabetically, let's summarize with numbers. We have an I first. We have a methylpentyl second. And we have a methylpropyl with nothing third, nothing in front. And a methylpropyl with something in front fourth. So now you're going to see how we can avoid confusion with these numbers that refer only to the butyl group and the numbers that indicate where the thing is on the chain. The group is on carbon 8 of the chain. This is group D, which we have to list first. I'm going to put parentheses here indicating that everything after the parentheses, the numbers in there refer only to this group. So the 8 says on the chain carbon 8, there's a group. That's all the 8 says. These numbers mean in this butyl group, there's iodines on 1, 1, and 3. And then my second group, you need these numbers in front. Every time you use something that has a number in the group, you need parentheses to surround the whole group name. I'm going to need parentheses with a dash 5 parenthesis first, dash 5 dash parenthesis, and copy B down, 1 methyl, oh boy, 1 methyl pentyl. There was only one of those. Dash. And that's 2. And the 3 was the methylpropyl. it starts with a 4 in front. And then we go parentheses. This is the third group. It's a 2-methyl-propyl. And we put that ahead of something that had 2 methyls. And this is on 8, the next group. And is this one of those ones where I'm going to have a big gap? I think so. The other one is 1,1-dimethylpropyl. Spread it out so I didn't have a big gap. I'm getting better at this. It took about 30 years. Okay. That's nice. That's the systematic name. Common name's going to take up a lot less room. I think I can squeeze it in on one line. So a reminder, this group's on 4. This group's on 5. This group's on 8. And we're going to have to use the systematic name for the iodobutyl group. So my alternate name. And on exams, when you're asked to name a molecule, you choose whichever system you're more comfortable with. That's half the nomenclature questions. The other half is I give you a name and you draw the molecule. I could give you this name or the name that we're about to come up with and expect you to draw the molecule, the same molecule from either name. So you can't just skip one method and say, I don't want to learn that one. Alphabetizing, we have an IO before an IS, and the H before the I's, HI, LMNOP, JK, LMNOP. P's last. So we'll put, I don't know, in green, we're going to have H before I, so that'll be a 1. And then we have IS after IO. This time this will be the second group. And then IS after IO. And our last group, tert pentyl. And don't forget, or I haven't forgot, that I'll give you that list of things that don't get alphabetized very shortly. So our name, starting with the group on carbon 5, is a sec hexyl, and you don't need parentheses. Went all red all of a sudden. Uh-oh. Okay, my pen got turned off. And then the second group we're going to do is the systematic one, because we don't have a common name. If I'm lucky, I can do this. No, sometimes. Didn't catch the first parenthesis. No problem. And that's the second group. And then the third group is isobutyl on 4. And the last group is tert pentyl on 8. And what else? Oh, the name, 13 carbon chain, tridecane. Took up a lot less room. So 2 things we're going to conclude with. Should be able to draw any iso, sec, or tert. And the 4 things that don't get alphabetized. That'll be a nice little page here.
Doctor, I think
yes.
there was something wrong with that last naming.
Oh, let's go back. Let me finish this sentence first. What 4 groups do not get alphabetized? And that's a question mark. And we'll go huge. And Okay. And I'm going back a page. And where did I go wrong? Last name? This one or this one?
No, the last one. I think it was the one after 8. It was supposed to be the triodobutyl instead of the
I grabbed the
dimethyl.
wrong systematic name. I thought I was so clever, didn't I? And I'm paying the price now. I'm glad you caught that. Yeah. I grabbed the wrong systematic name. Yeah. See that? Perfect interruption. Thank you so much. All right.
You got it.
And now we got to grab, I don't know if it's all going to be one thing. I can still pat myself a little on the back, I guess. And yeah, we just put a big dash before the 4. And that worked out pretty good. And we fixed it before publishing. My editor caught it. You guys, you have a job this semester. Editors in chief. What 4 groups do not get alphabetized? Let's see. ISO. Oh, that does. Sorry. Sec. Start here. So whatever after sec is where you start alphabetizing. Tert, same story. Prefixes indicating multiple groups. Multiple of the same group. Group. Example. Dimethyl. Doesn't go by D, goes by M. Hexachloro, same story. Doesn't go by H. This molecule would have 6 chlorines in it. Alphabetized by C. I said 4 things? These are the only 3 I've got so far. Sec, tert, prefixes. If a 4th one comes to me, I'll try to remember and put it here. And drawing isos, secs, and terts. Drawing iso, sec, and tert groups. Same story here. Okay, it's giving me a hard time. I got strategies for you that'll help you. Go pink. Let's do isoandecyl. Let's go sec nonyl. And let's go tert heptyl. And we'll have a squiggle already there. And see if I can copy these. So probably seen this stuff in the book already. Here we go. Strategies. Strategy. Draw. Undecyl means 11. Un is 1, decyl is 11. Draw 11 minus 1 equals 10 Cs. There's my first strategy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Always verify. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And strategy 2 for an iso, 11th C off of second last C. And just remember, iso, you got to make a V on the end. There's the second last C. Put it in green here. Okay, see the V on the end? Iso. 11 carbons. So same strategy for sex, except you put the methyl in a different spot. Draw 9 minus 1 equals 8 C's. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. Verify. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 2. 8th C. Oh, 8th, 9th. 9th C. We already did 8. On, you got to remember that rule about numbering for groups. First carbon. Please don't do this. No, that's not part of the group. It's this one that's the first carbon of the group. Should I write that down? Of the group? Well, I didn't write it down here. 11th carbon is off second last carbon of the group. First carbon of the group. It's a long methyl. I shorten it a little. Okay, so that's the sec. Tert's easier. It always starts off like a chicken foot. And the chicken foot has 2 less carbons than the name. Draw 7 minus 2. Minus 2 equals 5 C's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And step 2. I put a 2 in the first step. That's silly. And step 1. And draw 6 and 7, both attached to the first carbon of the chain, of the group. Draw 6, 7, both attached to first carbon. There's 1, there's 2. And if you look at these 4 carbons here, 1, 2, 3, 4, that guy right in there. Yeah, let's see if I can do it. Right in here. Looks like a chicken foot. No, I went too far. The chicken foot, 1, 2, 3, 4, stops there. So if it was tert butyl, it would just be the highlighted carbons, and then everything else, just one of the little toes of the foot get added on to. So you should be able to do any iso starting with propyl. You don't get branching until you have at least 3 carbons. Any sec, also starting with, well, not starting with propyl, because sec propyl will then look like isopropyl, and you don't have 2 names for the same group. So you're starting with butyl there. And this one also starts with butyl. So I believe from 4 to 20 is 17 inclusive. 30, 17, 34, and 18. Wow, 52 group names just on this one page. And then add in the systematic naming, and you got an almost infinite group naming. So that was a long segment, but I think it was worth it. And we'll come back on the other side and we'll talk about nothing but rings. We may have 5 segments today. I think this was 3. And rings are next, and then we'll do bicyclic molecules that have, you guessed it, 2 rings. So we'll see you soon.